Hey you, it's me, MK, welcoming you to my little corner in the Shadow Realm, and I'm feeling nostalgic yet again, so let's talk about virtual worlds. So before you say anything, no, I don't mean virtual reality. I mean virtual world. You know, stuff like Neopets, Wizard 101, Animal Jam, all that good stuff. Whether there's a big focus on multiplayer or emphasizing the single-person activities, you create your own avatar, explore fantastically immersive worlds, and maybe spend some time with your favorite characters if it's based on an already existing property. If I didn't want to watch TV after coming home from school, you most likely would have found me playing on one of these websites for an hour or two. Between these and Flash games, as I've previously covered here on my channel, us 2000s kids had it really good. They just don't make games like these anymore, and it's a shame because they had a special kind of wonder that you can't really get anywhere else. It's time to pay my respects to another aspect of gaming that's kind of a bygone era if you don't take the rewritten versions of shut-down virtual worlds into account. Without further ado, let's get started. I can't think of a better first stop than Webkinz. Created by Canadian toy company Gans in 2006, Webkinz was one of the first virtual worlds and practically the original virtual pet site. You buy a stuffed animal, redeem the code wrapped around their paw or equivalent of it on their website, and you get to play with your pet online. This is no doubt an instant classic, and it's still going on today. My time on Webkinz ran roughly from 2008 to 2012, and I briefly returned in 2017 when my grandma found some unused plushies in her garage before occasionally playing every so often to make sure my account doesn't expire. I have a total of 34 Webkinz, and I can still name them off one by one from pure memory. But I'm not going to because that'll take way too long, so instead keep your eyes on the screen. There's so much to do on Webkinz World, from decorating your room to taking your pets to school, getting a job, mining for gems, going on quests, talking to other users in the park or the clubhouse, searching for stars, watching music videos based on the pet of the month.
Tell me, where did you get those stripes? Tell me, where did you get those stripes? I wanna run, be a champion.
Our piggy plum pie with the ice cream high. Piggy plum pie with a cinnamon swirl.
And of course, who can forget the arcade games? Being the head of your pet household in Webkinz meant you were living the high life since most of your income came from playing at an arcade for free. As a kid, I loved Smoothie Moves and Pumpkin Patch Protector. The latter's sound effects made me laugh to no end. Nowadays, I'm a bigger fan of Hungry Hog, Bonanza 2, Polar Plunge, Pizza Palace, and Picnic with a Side of Ant Mania, which had no right to have its music go so hard. I'd say around 80% of my time is spent on the arcade. But it makes me sad because most of the best games were locked away after the deluxe membership was established in, I want to say, 2011. Which, looking back, it's impressive how long the website lasted without giving into the extra money tactic. But at least they made a compromise. Every Webkinz anniversary, you can do whatever you want, regardless if you're a free member or have a membership. I always try to make it whenever I can. I've played a few membership-exclusive games and even went shopping at Persephone's. But aside from membership locking a few things away, I'm glad barely much has changed. I do like the new system where your pets will sometimes make requests, pushing you to do more than you normally would. But if you don't like it, just tuck your pets into bed instead of keeping them awake when you're on. They can't ask you for favors if they're asleep. All in all, Webkinz is a certified classic and definitely worth replaying as an adult. Next, we have Disney's Toontown Online. Created by Jesse Schell in 2003, this game was my first exposure to MMORPGs and had an ongoing storyline. Basically, Scrooge McDuck activates one of Gyro Gearloose's unfinished robots and accidentally creates the Cogs, evil robots who want to purge Toontown and turn it into a greedy corporation land. The only surefire way to fight against them is to use gags because logical robots simply can't take a joke.
ほう、向かってくるのか。
This story is surprisingly deep and ahead of its time. It's obviously a metaphor for corporations killing creativity and kind of represents the state Disney is in right now. Anyway, I played this game so often that eventually my dad's laptop couldn't take it anymore and I had to stop for its sake. People usually think of Club Penguin when it comes to Disney's online games, but I think Toontown deserves the recognition even more. Probably because of my bias towards rubber hose animation and cartoons in general. I remember making multiple accounts for the different computers I played on, and one of them was shared with another friend I introduced to the website. My main account was a tiny fat pink mouse with a light pink striped shirt and hot pink shorts named Princess Sparkle Swirl, but because the website shut down in 2013, she's lost in time and space. A moment of silence for our fallen soldier. These are my characters in Toontown Rewritten, some of which you might recognize as recreations of other characters. Looking at the avatars now, they feel a lot more reminiscent of the Looney Tunes style. The rabbits in particular bear a striking resemblance to Bugs Bunny. Funny enough, Toontown Online fell into some greedy corporate tactics itself.
Well. How the turntables...
A lot of stuff like certain avatars, leveling up past a certain extent, and creating more than 2 and then more than 1 toon file was locked behind a paywall. As a kid, I didn't mind that much since it gave me more freedom to do stuff at my own leisure and occasionally complete tasks that were labeled under just for fun. Regular tasks helped you progress the story and learn new forms of gags, like being the team healer or breaking the cogs' eardrums. But just for fun tasks typically gave you jelly beans, which are the currency in this world, clothing tickets to get more outfits, and your model temporarily being tiny or having a huge head. Jelly beans could also be earned on the trolley, which is a station for randomized minigames. You can either play by yourself or with others. Either one is fun. Toon Escape, Maze Game, Jungle Vines, and Cog Thief were my favorite minigames. Toon Escape especially. You could platform like Super Mario and shoot cogs that stood in your way. What more could you ask for? Though the new Cog Thief has its downsides. Yes, it's way better to play with a regular view instead of a bird's eye, but it's also not Mac friendly due to the radically different function keys and you have to change them to something else in the menu, something I wasn't aware of until it was too late. And every Thursday, if you hop on a trolley with other people, you'll go through a 3-in-1 where the games are picked by guiding the trolley to one of the spots. You have to vote which direction it goes, and one of the games will reward you jelly beans just by landing on it. Toontown Online also had a feature where you could adopt your own pet or go racing. They're completely optional, but I like them regardless, even though Goofy Speedway is completely broken. And I was disappointed that whenever you went fishing, you could only sell the fish to the pet store instead of adopting one yourself. It would have been really cool to bring out a clownfish, a starfish, or a peanut butter and jellyfish during battle to attack the cogs like Pokemon, being a good counterpart to the doodles which you can summon to perform tricks for healing. As previously stated, Toontown Online shut down in 2013, but many clones popped up to keep the legacy alive. Some of them do their own thing like Toontown Corporate Clash, but if you want a nearly completely faithful copy of the game to play again, check out Toontown Rewritten. Since they legally cannot make any money off of the game lest they get shut down, everything that was previously locked behind a membership is now free for all. I prefer the game this way since it obviously gives me more to do and I can have a ton of fun with character creating. Though it does feel a little empty without the Disney characters walking around their sections of Toontown. Toontown Online is without a doubt the most addicting virtual world I've ever played. If you want to hit me up, be on the lookout for these guys. Build-A-Bear was in a similar vein to Webkinz. When you bought a bear from Build-A-Bear Workshop, you'd get a code to register it as an online pet. But unlike Webkinz, you also have your own avatar with a backpack for your plushies to ride in as you walk around town. I was Abby Adventure Bear 1102, and a proud owner of a High School Musical bear, My Melody, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Swirly Lamb, Eric from Happy Feet 2, Victoria Justice Bear, and Fluttershy. They roam on their own when you're at home and express themselves freely to you with unique emoticons and phrases. Sometimes you'd see cyber guides pop up in your house too. They're helpful and special citizens that can give tours and answer questions, but whenever I tried to talk to them, I got nothing. They were like ghosts, roaming around the room for a minute before randomly dancing and disappearing.
Y'all ugly.
There used to be so much you could do. You could watch Chloe Rocks 300's live shows, go to junior cyber guide school, work at the cafe, listen to some rocking tunes,
Make a bear up
play like 30 mini-games whenever you wanted. My favorites were the Daily Fountain game and the Dance Dance Revolution one, but I also liked the one where you took pictures of animals in the forest. If you were lucky, you could see some really cool animals like a flying squirrel and a bald eagle, or mythical creatures like a jackalope, a dragon, a fairy, and even a frog prince. Let me tell you though, seasonal events were some of the best parts of the website. I always got excited when Christmas and summertime rolled around. In summertime, they had limited edition bears in the store, and your avatar got sorted into one of the four like it was Harry Potter. Whichever team scored the most points by going on quests would win something special at the end of summer. I was sorted into the Bubblegum Bear team for my first Camp Happy Heart event, and it ended up being the winning team. Then for Christmas, the train would take you to the North Pole and you could meet Santa, Rudolph, and Clarice. They even had a Crocodile Dentist type game you could play with Bumble the Abominable Snowman. Remember Crocodile Dentist? I both loved and was terrified of that thing. This is a rare case where memberships were never a thing, so good on Build-A-Bear for prioritizing their actual stuffed animals for profits instead of making extra cash off the players. Build-a-Bearville shut down in 2015, though I think this is less because of the lack of memberships and more because this was around the time where Virtual World stopped being popular. I mean, Toontown Online shut down 2 years before and it had memberships. You could say this is a reverse Webkinz, where instead of slowing down production on toys to the point where you can only find them in the obscurest of stores but keeping the website running, Build-A-Bear maximized profit on their bears and shut down their not as marketable website. But thankfully, Bearville Rewritten exists. They have the map layout and recreated a couple of mini-games, but other than that, it's very much bare bones as of the time I'm recording this. I can't wait until they rebuild everything, if it ever happens. I even have my birth certificates ready to get their codes back online. But until then, I'll forever remember it as the virtual world with the biggest kidcore vibes. Going back to Disney now, let's talk about Pixie Hollow. Created in 2008, it started as just a simple dress a fairy and print it out kind of thing before it got turned into a virtual world, and it was the best thing they could have possibly done. I was obsessed with fairies when I was little, so naturally I played Pixie Hollow just as much as the previous 3 games. I filled up all 3 of my fairy slots, Tinker, Garden, and Animal talents in case you were curious, and switched between them each day. It's already fun dragging your fairy around and enjoying peak fairy core, but what ultimately made Pixie Hollow Online so great were its minigames. My favorite games were Bubble Bounce, Firefly Light Up, Tinker Toss, Snowy Lullaby, Snowflake Sweep, and Fairy Fireworks. Unfortunately, the site also went downhill pretty quickly because they deleted the original fairies after an update, and when I was forced to start from scratch, almost everything was locked off in every way because of, you guessed it, membership. The worst parts were that I could only buy 2 different shirts or skirts, and the games only let me play easy mode. They eventually fixed the last one though. To compensate, membership ended up only blocking off playing the full game all the way through. That meant free players could only play levels of the same difficulty in one run. Which is a shame, but at least the games weren't completely off limits like Webkinz. Man, the more I go on about memberships, the more I realize that the shutdowns may have been a blessing in disguise. After Pixie Hollow shut down in 2013, we got 2 rewrittens, Fairy ABC and We the Pixies. Fairy ABC gives you way more talents to work with, incorporating some of the books' talents like art and writing. But while the entire Pixie Hollow is fully explorable, the games that made it worth it aren't there. While an empty world can still look pretty, it doesn't mean it won't become boring very quickly. Meanwhile, We the Pixies is a lot closer to the original format and even has a couple minigames, Bubble Bounce and Butterfly Painter. However, the only explorable parts of Pixie Hollow are Palm Tree Cove, Dewdrop Vale, and Neverberry Thicket. Still, this is a much better option between the 2 incomplete recreations. I can't wait to see how far We the Pixies will go in being the Toontown rewritten of Pixie Hollow. Club Penguin is an interesting case. That's the one where I noticed the nostalgia is the most universal, but I was one of those kids who didn't like it much. I'd only play for a week or less before finding it boring. But now, I have a better appreciation for its chill vibes. This is the kind of virtual world where, in most cases, I can put in the least energy and just let my brain relax from all the excitement the others offer. So what do you do in Club Penguin? As if it even needs an introduction. You can get a pet puffle, work at the pizzeria, go mining, or play games that typically have a snowy theme because you're a penguin living in a town that's on a huge iceberg. The dancing minigame's probably my favorite, but I always love the Dance Dance Revolution types, so that probably isn't saying much. I also really like Smoothie Smash, Puffle Launch, and Puffle Roundup. While this isn't a minigame technically, I also enjoyed Cardjitsu quite a bit. It's a rock, paper, scissors type of game with elementals. Water beats fire, fire beats snow, and snow beats water. Not a bad way to learn how to fight. Club Penguin is a miracle of a virtual world. When you don't count the ongoing ones like Webkinz, this is the one that lasted the longest by a long shot. Most virtual world shutdowns occurred in 2013, but Club Penguin didn't shut down until 2017. 4 years doesn't seem like much, but it felt like a lifetime, especially when you remember it was one of the last of its kind. Actually, that's probably not true, but it might as well be. Quite a few recreations popped up for this one. Club Penguin Online, Club Penguin Rewritten, and New Club Penguin. The first two ultimately didn't last. Online was filled with racism, homophobia, and anti-Semitism, as well as certain mods possessing not safe for work content of children, causing Disney to personally step in and shut it down themselves.
Nope, 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 stop talking, go to jail.
Meanwhile, Rewritten was targeted when Disney found out they were making profit off of the Club Penguin clone, which of course is a big no-no. Now, all that's left is New Club Penguin. While I personally can go a lifetime never playing Club Penguin again, I hope for the sake of devoted fans that the third time really is the charm and nothing bad will happen. Before I keep going, here's a quick shout out to those I played for only a couple months before quitting or cannot get footage of for the video. Barbie Girls. Best part was the Halloween event where you turned into a pumpkin for trick or a candy fairy for treat. If you want a more in-depth look, you should check out Lee Speaks' video on it. I can't believe that was her first one because it's top-notch. Groovy Girls. It was fun for a little while, but the photo booth kept glitching out my experience and forced me to leave without looking back. Mickworld. Fun enough, but the one thing that made it worth it was Pennsylvania and adopting a dog. Mundo Gaturro, a Spanish one based on Argentinian comic strip Gaturro, which I loved a lot as a kid, but can never revisit since I'm a Mac user and running Windows on Linux makes games notoriously slow. Though it's not that big of a loss since Neek is a two-faced plagiarizer and does not deserve any extra money.
Oh, hey, fuck you!
And Fantage, the one time I had a free trial for membership, but I stopped playing earlier than usual because someone flirted with me and my parents didn't want to risk me getting groomed. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Actually, I'm gonna mention two more even though they don't apply to the criteria. I never played Big Fat Awesome House Party or Fusion Fall when I was a kid, but I know that if I did, I would have responded to every task Blue possibly could have given me like this.
Anything for you, Beyonce?
Finally, I want to talk about a virtual world I'm pretty sure most of you have never heard of. Beanie Babies 2.0. Long story short, it's a Webkinz clone. But it was a pretty good Webkinz clone. It's rather obscure because Ty's virtual plush line was discontinued after only 1 year, and they weren't even, for a lack of a better word, popular until McDonald's had a teeny beanie line of them in the summer of 2009. That was actually how I discovered the site's existence, and I want to thank McDonald's because I played the heck out of this one for a full year. Granted, it's not as long as stuff like Webkinz or Toontown, and I regret not playing it longer, but it doesn't matter because I loved it as much as I could have back then. Sure, this may be a Webkinz clone and thus not have a lot of new ground to cover, but there was one key thing that made the site stand out among the rest. Its mascot. See this cute little puppy? No, contrary to popular belief, that's not Clifford the average-sized red dog. His name is Snoots, and he was truly ahead of his time. Say what you want about the other virtual world mascots before him, but this dude is iconic. I mean, I made him in Toontown for a reason. Snoots hits all the right marks for marketability. Wide eyes, sweet smile, big old snoot, dainty posture, teeny tail wag, floopy ears, and adorable beyond all reason. Needless to say, I was suckered in. It's a shame Ty never turned him into a marketable plushie. His voice is a little weird at first, though. He sounds like Wow Wow Websy, Vanellope Von Schweetz, an animal sidekick from a Barbie movie, and a Vocaloid rolled into one person.
Oh my gosh. I can't hold on.
Though how much of which can be detected varies depending on the shorts. Oh yeah, he's also the star of his own web series, which I may actually have more sentimental attachment to and will be covering sometime in the future. Anyway, what I do remember about the virtual world itself was amazing. Snoots would pop up almost everywhere you went. He'd give you scavenger hunt quests leading up to the final riddle that had to do with the prize you won. I still remember the jungle riddle almost word for word. You could listen to 3-song playlists of the hottest tunes, with one in particular being my go-to every time I went on. And the Funland arcade had 3 games I remembered playing the heck out of. Food Fight had you throwing pies, peas, and cherries at opposing bears. Backyard Bucket Battle had you sling rocks at water-filled buckets on wires, and if they hit the end of the wire, they'd drench whoever stood below it, and oh my goodness, typing tag was S tier! In that one, Snoots is being chased by pesky seagulls, and you have to use your typing skills to help him escape. Easy mode gave you random letters, while hard mode had you type full sentences. Anybody who knew me when I was little knew I had the fastest draw in the West. But that wasn't enough for me to beat hard mode, no. Fast hands are important, but to win typing tag's hard mode, you needed an even faster brain, which was ultimately my downfall. If you failed to save Snoots, those seagulls would peck his poor little face out, then taunt you for your incompetence.
You are an idiot!
That aside, playing this game while listening to Ali and AJ's potential breakup song and Miley Cyrus's Fly on the Wall single-handedly became my happiest memory of the Beanie Babies virtual world. I'd stop as soon as Girl Next Door played though, because it was more on the chill side, so I played the other 2 games I previously mentioned instead as a short break. It's a really big shame this virtual world wasn't very popular, because that means I don't have much to salvage and keep my memories fresh. With 1 or 2 exceptions, the few videos out there that actually do record Beanie Land stuff either mute, speed up, or cut off the best parts. So that's why I don't have too many visuals to go off from. Thankfully, the Wayback Machine preserved Snoots' voice clips and animations from the new member and registration pages. My heart could barely handle it because of nostalgic overload and Snoots being so stinkin' cute!
Hi, I'm Snoot. I'm so happy to see you. You want to come in and have fun in Beanie Land? Welcome to Beanie Land. I'm Snoot. I'm so pleased that you're here to register your new Beanie Baby 2.0. Let's get started, okay?
I hope it can be rewritten someday because it deserves that treatment. As our trip across the different virtual worlds comes to a close, so does our time together in this video. Before the grand purge of Adobe Flash, this was the first collective experience my generation had with the weight of not appreciating what we had until it was gone. We thought these worlds would be there forever, and in some cases, they were. Whether it's the original in its full glory or the many rewrittens out there. But some may be lost to the end of time, and I'd like to thank those in particular for the memories that I'll never be able to relive. We should make the most of what we have left, both originals and rewrittens, because we never know if one day we'll wake up and discover we can't find our way back again. Well, that's all for now. What virtual worlds do you hold near and dear to your heart? Like, comment, subscribe, and next time you visit the Shadow Realm, I'll be right here. This is MK, signing off.